Hello there, Pokemon fans. This is Doris Spenter of Library Arts, and I'm here to invite you to join me today to draw some fun Pokemon characters having a blast in their own little playground. The great thing about when you love little cartoon characters or game characters is learning how to draw them. So I'm going to walk you through this drawing, show you how to draw 4 unique Pokemon characters in a fun, playful setting, and feel free to add your own ideas to the picture. How about we go ahead and get started on this fun drawing? I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, so let's get started with our Pokemon playground drawing. The first thing you're going to need is a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper, or if you have sketchbook paper, or even a larger paper if you want, but that's the size that I'm going to work on. A pencil and eraser, a black marker, and I plan to color my picture in using color pencils. You can use crayons. You can totally use markers. You can use whatever you have. I just have a preference for color pencils for this kind of project. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to put my marker and pencil and eraser aside. I have already created a guideline for the basic drawing, so you can kind of get a sense of the composition, what it's going to look like. So we have our 1, 2, 3, 4 Pokemon characters in a fun little playground. I'm going to get you through the drawing today. Then we will talk a little bit about color and jump into the color, doing the Pokemon characters first, then the background. Okay, how about we get started? I'm going to place my paper right on top of my drawing. This way I can quickly get you through the drawing. Let's start by making one of our central characters here right in the middle, because I think that's fun. If you can actually start drawing the characters first, it's a little more fun, isn't it? So you can see those characters. So what I'm going to do is just set up, and now we're ready to go. So we're going to draw Gengar first, and I like him because he's a relatively simple character with a round body, pointy head, and arms and legs. He's going to be jumping into a sandbox. That's why he's got that big grin on his face, like he's almost jumping into a pool. So he's going to be a little lower than center, near the bottom of your paper, but not all the way, sort of like a couple inches from the bottom. Let's start with his pointy head, shall we? And again, I'm working with markers, so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. I find that if I work with marker, you can see what I'm doing, and I'm just making a zigzaggy head shape. So he's got a lot of spikes and points on his head. Now we're going to come around one side with a big curve. We're going to go a little bit further with that curve and stop. Now, right over here after this last spike, let's draw his first arm. It's just sort of another kind of jaggedy shape like we just had on the head. It's going to come down a little bit. Now we can draw the next part of his body, and we're going to add a leg here with a little bit of a curve, 2 diagonal lines, and we're going to put a zigzag for his foot and a curve for the bottom of the foot. So this foot is jumping right into the sand, okay? Now let's add his other arm. We're going to start with a diagonal and another diagonal. Same kind of zigzag we've been using, zigzag hand. And now we're going to add the other foot. Then we'll go right into his face. So we're going to have a curve come down here. We're going to draw those same zigzaggy shapes. So that leg is sort of behind, and it's about to come forward just like this one. Now let's get that fun face on him. He has 2 bold diagonal lines here. He has a half round here, half round there. Add a couple eyes, 1, 2. And let's put a big grin on him. Big grin. He's excited about jumping right into the sandbox. Now, a great thing that artists do to show a feeling of movement is they put gesture lines. Little diagonal lines, sometimes curved like that, to show that somebody's moving. So we're going to put a lot of gesture lines in our drawing today to really get the expressive feel that Gengar is really jumping and some of the other characters are moving too as they're playing on the playground. Now right around Gengar we have to build that playground sandbox. So let's start with 2 horizontal lines, one here and one here. So they're going right behind. He's overlapping the playground. Now we're going to add 1 and 2 diagonal lines here. So watch me. 1 diagonal line, and we want this next diagonal line to go the same angle. So you can do that with your pencil. You can actually take your pencil and put it in an angle like that. Now we're going to connect those lines. And now we have a box. But it looks funny. It doesn't look finished, does it? So let's finish it up. We're going to make it look like a 3D box. We're going to drop a vertical line here and a vertical line here. This is going to be the side of our sandbox. We're going to attach it with another diagonal. Now we do the front of our sandbox. We're going to drop a straight line and attach it with another horizontal line. Now we need to make some sand in here, but in order to do that, we need to add a few lines. Here's one corner, and let's add that side line. So let's see how they still copy each other. And back here, we're going to add a bumpy line to suggest the sand. And then let's put a little pail here. You know, like when you go in the sandbox and you see a little shovel so you can dig. Oh boy, he's ready to jump in and play with that shovel. But we're not going to make the whole pail because it's sticking in the sand. We're going to put some lines to show that the sand is in here, like that. So you have just created Gengar, and he's having a great time getting ready to jump into the sandbox. Why don't we go back here and add Snorlax? Now Snorlax is a big guy, but because he's far away, he's going to look smaller. And he's going to be swinging on a swing. So we're going to start with 2 triangles for his ears, and we're going to connect those triangles with a little curve. Now let's bring one ear down, the other ear down. Now we're going to put a V, it's going to be part of the face, and it's going to come around in a circle till it comes back up to the other part of the V, just like that. We're going to add 2 arms that are really excited coming up with the same kind of pointy hands that we had before. And these arms are holding on to the swing, so that's why they're up. And we're going to bring one chubby arm down and another chubby arm down, because he's a chubby kind of guy, isn't he? And we're going to go out and out to make the body. And before we put the bottom of his body, he's got these 2 big feet. One circle, another circle. Don't forget to add some toes there. And let's put a line putting them together. So he's added a little bit of a diagonal, you might notice. And that's because he's on the swing and the swing is in movement. Let's add the face next. Another diagonal line for the 2 eyes, sort of like we did on here on Gengar, and a smile because he's really happy to be on the swings. And we're just going to add a little bit of his tummy by putting those 2 lines there. All right, next, let's start building the swing. We're going to put a little curve up here and a little curve up here, and those 2 curves are going to be the lines that connect to the swing. So we're going to just bring the lines down to the hands for now. We're going to extend those lines further in a minute, but let's finish building the seat that Snorlax is sitting on. So we're going to come out a little bit, just like we did here. We're going to do that diagonal line. This is the seat of the swing. We're going to go across. And now, just like we did here before, when we added those vertical lines, we're going to add some vertical lines here, here, and here. And then we're going to connect them. That's your little swing seat. Now, usually your hand is behind the string, so we can make that come all the way down over the hand and onto the seat. Over the hand and onto the seat. So now you see how he's holding on to the swing? Now I'm going to turn this over here. We're going to take 2 horizontal lines. These lines are going to connect with the little C shapes up there. That's the top of your swing set. Now we're going to add 2 diagonal lines. 1, put a circle right here, and 2. That's one side of the swing set. And let's go 1 and 2. Notice again, angles, keep them on the diagonal. Now this one's going to go the opposite diagonal. This is going to be the other part of the swing set. 1 and 2. Let's make them a little shorter because they're in the distance. And 1. And because it would end right about here, we're just going to see a little bit of it. So 1, 2. Now, remember these lines that we used over here in Gengar? We're going to do that too to show that the swing is moving, okay? He's swinging through the air. Now, how about we move over here and we work on the next one, Typhlosion. I think that's how it's pronounced. That's a little bit more of a complicated character, but I think we can handle it because you've been doing so well. And if you need to pause the video at any time, always feel free to do so that you can feel like you are comfortable where you are with the drawing. Here is the curve of the beginning of the head. Here is an ear. A lot of triangles for these ears, right? We have a little bit of the back of the head here. Now, this is the most complex part of his body, is his mouth. He has a very interesting mouth because it's going to be wide open. So first, we're going to come down like this. We're going to come forward like this. So now you can see the wide open mouth, right? Now this one is going to arch down. Don't go all the way down though. And then this mouth is going to come out. So that is the mouth. Now I have a thinner black marker that I like to use to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 teeth like that. Now let's continue with the body. So we're coming down here. Now we're going to draw an arm coming out. Guess what? Same thing as the other ones. Little spiky arm with spiky fingers, and it's going to come up like that. Then we're going to come around, up, down. So it makes this kind of big curvy shape. Big curvy shape. Now, let's draw the other arm, and yes, we're going to draw that fiery explosion coming behind him in a minute. So let's put his chin there, his neck here, and now his arm is going to come out over here. Same spiky little fingers and back. Now there's not really a circle here, but I just thought it made sense to put a circle on my character. And I'm going to use my thin marker to draw the eye like that. And it's a little bit dark right there. Okay. Now, how about those fun, fiery spikes? How about we do that next? We're going to come out here and we're going to go really bold with these fiery spikes like that. Let's stop there for a minute because we do need to add a slide after we add the feet on, okay? And there's a couple other things. We actually have to add a little edge of the body there. We have to add that black shape that comes along there. And then we have a little bit of a tail that comes out here too. So let's not forget that tail, okay? Now we can add the feet. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're gonna build the slide around the body. So let's do the bottom of the slide first. We're gonna have a line come out here and over here near the foot. And then we're gonna have a rounded line come here and back to the foot for a minute. We'll continue that line for the slide in a minute. Over here, we're gonna have a rounded line come up. Now, that's just the part of the slide he's coming down. Now we need to do where the ladder is. So we're gonna come up to the shoulder. We're gonna big arch and come down. Then we're gonna come across, kind of like we've been doing here, 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 and here. We're gonna arch up and back to the body. But now this part of the slide has to come up too. So let's do that. Let's continue that slide down here, around the tail, and connect right there. But still, how do they get up there? Well, I'm gonna turn my paper a little sideways so I can show you that there's some diagonal ladder rungs here to climb up the slide. And now there might even be room to add another little fiery shape there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness, we have one more to draw, and this was a special request from one of my students to add this character. They wanted Natu in here. So, Natu is not so hard to draw because you have a simple circle shape. Leave a little spot there though because we need to add a beak. We're going to add a rounded beak coming out. There's like a feathery shape here and a wing coming in from the side. Let's add an eye. And put a dark shape there. And then there's some lines on the wing. And we're going to have 2 legs come out. And now we're going to build the piece of equipment this animal's on in just a minute to show that it is a seesaw. So first we're going to draw a line going across where the feet would be. That's going to be the bar of the seesaw that you hold. And it's going to look like a T, like that. Now below it, we can add the feet. You see how there's a lot of overlapping happening here? Now we're going to come down with a diagonal all the way down, go on the other side. After we come out, go all the way down. We're going to add an arch here. That arch is how the seesaw is standing up. We're going to see this little horizontal. We're going to make another horizontal right here. That's the other bar coming down, and now we can finish the rest of the seesaw connecting those 2 lines, adding a little dimension, sliding it back like that. Now, just like we said before, we need to add some more movement lines coming down the slide. How about this character needs some movement lines, like he just landed on the seesaw. And now we want to give it an environment. We have all our characters in, so now let's add an environment. So let's draw some grass here. Let's go up here behind the slide. We're going to put a tree in the distance. We're going to add just, kind of a fun texture to our tree, add a couple little bark shapes. Over here, we're going to add another tree. That. And also we'll just have that tree kind of going off in the distance. Now let's add some grass continuing across the back of our picture. Notice how we're doing this last because we want to get the characters in, the equipment in, and now we can actually create a little path through the playground. So we're going to start right here. We're going to go past the swing, around and down. Now, in order for the path to look like it's going farther away, we're going to have it super skinny up there and get much wider as it comes down. So we start skinny, we come around, and we end wide like that. And that just gives us, again, a feeling of distance. We're going to add a couple little grass blades here and there just to make it look like it's part of the playground. Add some grass over here maybe. And notice how they're just little triangles. Nothing fancy here going on. And maybe we'll add a little bit of grass down here. And I think we just need a couple more things. We need a couple clouds in the sky. Maybe another cloud over here coming in and around and down, and maybe just the hint of a sun peeking out. And there you go. We have just finished our Pokemon playground, and in the next step, we're going to start talking about color. See you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So we have our drawing done. If you did yours in pencil, you might want to go over yours in marker before you go into this next step, but that's totally optional. I just like the way the black makes the character stand out. So I'm using color pencils, and I think it's helpful to look at the color of the actual character before we color it in. So here we have Snorlax. Snorlax is basically a light blue, gray, and a slightly tan color. So keeping those colors in mind, you can go ahead and start coloring your character in. So I'm going to use a kind of an aqua blue for my Snorlax, and I have one right here. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to color in the body with a light blue. The arms, the head. Remember, the face is actually very, very light. And we're going to use a gray there. Now, if you want to have a little fun and get involved with the shading, the shadowing, you can use a darker blue. But in terms of timing, I'm going to keep it more straightforward. Okay, so the belly and the face are more of this kind of gray color. So I'm going to get in there with a light gray. You could use a peach. You could keep it white if you wanted. Now I do notice, now that I look at him, that he has two little round shapes in his paws, which I didn't draw before, so I'm going to put them in real quick. And now I'm going to look for a tan for those shapes right there. It's kind of nice. It makes those feet pop. And then I'm going to use the same gray around it that I used on the other one. And there you go. You have Snorlax. If you also want to draw the two little teeth that Snorlax has, you can do that too. Alrighty, let's move on to Gengar. Gengar's a really fun one. He's kind of purpley, and I think that what's key with that one is to make sure you find the right purple, because it's kind of a, a bluish purple. So it's like a blue violet. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and color him in. He has a purple body with some pink eyes and a really great grin. I really love that grin on him. So I'm going to color him in. And we're going to focus on just doing the characters right now. We're going to do the background in the next video because I think that'll be fun to do the stars of the show, so to speak, first, before we go ahead and add in the background. Again, I'm using color pencil, but you can feel free to use what you have. You don't have to have fancy color pencils. I mean, some of my colored pencils are better than others. This is not a particularly great brand, but it's okay. It's just Pentel. The Faber-Castell pencils I definitely like better. But use what you have. I'm very big on that because I don't want you to feel like, you know, for whatever reason you can't do a project. You can even just do the drawing and use your pencil to shade the characters if you want. You don't have to feel like you have to color them in. Some people don't want to, quite frankly. And I'm going to make the foot a little bit darker than the leg, just a little bit. And you know what? Let's take a look at this Gengar. What did I forget? Did you notice what I forgot? I forgot to add on, did you guess it? The tail. So just like before, I'm just gonna take a moment, and you can always do this with a drawing, add a little tail on, and color that in too. It's good to have a little reference nearby so you can catch yourself. Now the eyes are in the pink range, so I'm going to just use a light pink here. And here. And then I'm going to find a nice gray, that pale gray, to do the teeth, because they're not perfectly white actually. They're kind of in the gray zone. And there we go, Gengar. Now let's move on to I'm really having trouble with this. Typhlosion. Typhlosion seems to be the name of the game. So let's go on to Typhlosion. We're going to need a nice light yellow, and I happen to have one right here that just seems to be the right color for the body. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in first. Sort of a creamy, buttery vanilla color. And then his arms are that color. And if you want to add a little detail, I'm just going to make the belly kind of a pale brown, even though it really isn't that color. I'm just going on the shadows I see here and deciding to make the belly pale brown. And you know, you can change your characters up just because you want to. Now, I see he has a dark gray shape, part of his body right here, and then it comes down here and it goes into the tail. The feet are that same kind of light yellow. And what we can really have fun though is with the mouth. We can make the mouth kind of a pinky tone down here, and go with a little bit of a darker, I'm going to go with a little bit of a red tone up here. Try not to go in the teeth. There we go. You see how that's nice? Makes the tongue stand out, and the there we go. There's the tongue. Now my favorite part, of course, is this sort of electricity going on around him. So I would grab an orange, couple oranges, a yellow, and I would do some yellow at the base here to really make it pop. And then I would switch to a bright orange rather than that red that I just had, a bright orange, and blend it with the yellow. And it's nice that color pencils allow you to do that, and see how it really makes his whole body pop, especially with the pale colors that come before. So isn't that fun? I really like that. I'm going to go over his eye a little bit because I feel like they got a little bit lost with the color pencil. And then I'm going to use a fun pale blue for the slide, but your slide can be any color you want. It doesn't have to be the color I choose. It's just about making things stand out. And I thought it would be fun if I put a pale blue, it would make the slide stand out because blue and orange are considered complementary colors. So when you put a blue next to an orange, it makes those colors both appear brighter, okay? And then just for fun, again, I'm going to use some red for the stairs to make them pop. And blue again for the side of the slide. And we'll come back and do the swing and the sandbox afterwards. I just really like this character, so I figured I'd do the rest of the details around him. And I thought maybe a bright yellow to pick up the yellow in the electricity there for the slide itself. And there you go. We have 1, 2, 3 Pokemon characters down, and now we're going to move on to the next one, which is Natu, and he's, you know, really clever. In fact, you know what? We should add that other wing over here. I wasn't going to do it originally, but I just think that it would be fun, the way we see him in flight there, to add another wing. So I'm going to put a little bit there and a little bit there, and then we'll put a couple lines here and here to show off. Okay, now what color? We need a nice yellow-green for the body, so let's get a nice yellowish green in there. And you can see the beak is that same fun yellow I was just using a moment ago. So we're gonna get a nice bright yellow in there. We've got some red legs. And I know there's white tips on the feet, but I'm not gonna do that. And some yellow on part of the wing here. And red. And I know it's not exactly like his wing, but I'm just making it my way. That's what you do. You take the best of the character, but then you add your own. Oh, and let's not forget the bright red piece there. Wow, that was fun. We got through all 4 of our characters. In the next video, we're going to start working on the rest of the background. We'll do the playground equipment, and then we'll do the rest. Now, stop the video here if you need to color in your own characters, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, did you have a chance to color in your 4 Pokemon characters? They're really bright. So now we need to create a nice colorful background to go with our Pokemon characters. So the first thing I think we should do is finish up coloring the playground equipment. So let's go over here and finish Snorlax's swing set. And I decided because of that bright blue, I'd do something fun like an orange swing set. A swing set can be any color you want. I just like the idea of something fun and bright and playful because, you know, we're at a playground, and a playground should be a fun, playful place. Shouldn't be dark and dreary. Might use a little bit of yellow right here. Again, just for a surprise of color. And I'm going to finish up now on the top. And then we're going to do the swing. Now the swing, you know, you can do it any color you want. I'm going to do it sort of a swing set color, kind of a, you know, a pale brown around the body. Maybe making a little bit darker on the edges and a little lighter under the seat. So there you go. We got the swing set colored in. Wonderful. I'm just going to touch up a couple things right here. Great. Why don't we go over to the sandbox now, where we have Gengar. So we want Gengar also to stand out, but let's just pick a nice soft, like brown color that can represent the sand in the sandbox. We're not going to do the shovel and the bucket yet, because I think we want something fun and contrasty there too, so that can stand out in a playful way. So let's just get the sand colored in. Just working our way around the square here. And notice how we used a little bit of a curvy line to show the edge of the sand, because sand wouldn't be a flat line, would it? It would be all bumpy and lumpy near the edges. So we're just doing that. There we go. Okay, that was great. Now, we have purple, we have tan. We need something bright to really make that sandbox look like fun, playful. I'm just going to add a couple extra lines to kind of make it look like wood. But let's make it look playful. So let's do something bright, like a red. Because, you know, that's also going to help draw attention to your character. So I'm going to put some red over here. You see how it makes Gengar pop out a little bit? You want a color that's going to work with your character without drawing attention away from it. So the brown tells us that it's sand, and the red just tells us it's a painted sandbox. That's all. Because the sandbox could be any color. And then you should say, what color should the pail be? Want that to stand out too, right? So you should pick a color that you like, and that again doesn't matter. Just pick a color that you like, that you think would stand out nicely, and that'll be fine. I think, you know, I'm going to do something different from what I did before. I'm going to make a yellow sand pail. I'm going to make a green handle, and I'm going to make it green inside of the pail too. There. That makes that stand out. I'm also going to take a little bit of a darker brown, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken up some of the lines. You see, I'm just kind of adding a little darkness where the lumps are for the sand, like maybe near the edges back here, just a little detail. And I'm just going to touch up the sand over here a little bit. Great. Okay, we already did the slide, and look how bright and fun that is. Now let's move over here to the seesaw. Now I personally think the seesaw should be light, again, to draw attention to our character, not to. And let's do that right here. Nice and light. Now let's get a darker brown. Oh, you know, maybe a dark gray. And we're going to use that dark gray for the handles. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. But it could be dark brown. You can make them red. You can make it stand out with a pop of color. That's really, again, up to you. Don't feel like you need to do it the way I'm doing it. I just like, you know, I have certain preferences, and you should have certain preferences, and that'll help you to do a picture the way you want it to look. I'm going to use a darker brown on the side, but I'm going to go back to a lighter brown for the support here. I think that makes more sense to me. Okay, look at that. We got all the playground equipment done. So next we will tackle the grass, the path, the trees, the sky, and all those details. So I'll see you in a minute. Catch up if you need to, and I'll see you shortly. Okay, so now we're going to turn our attention to the playground equipment in the background of our picture. I think we'll start with the path here. I'm going to use a similar color that I've been using, but then I'm going to mix some other browns in. And all I'm going to do is just lightly color it in with a layer of light brown. I'm even gonna go over that grass because guess what? I'm gonna go over that in green later, and that's gonna come right back into my picture without a problem. So I'm going to continue down here. Like this. Maybe add a little bit more brown up here, a little more there and there. But I'm actually going to probably make it a little darker near the bottom. Again, you don't have to have the same brown I have. You might want to make it sort of fun. You might want to make it a sidewalk. You could leave it out altogether if you want. I just think it draws the eye in, and that makes it kind of playful and fun to think about, you know, visitors coming to the playground, coming across. Maybe you'd have, you know, tricycles on the path here. And then as I get down here, I'm going to start to get a little bit darker because I want to draw attention to the beginning. So I'm going to go over here with the darker brown, and then I think I'm going to bring a little bit of that sort of saddly tan here and go over it. And that's, again, nice thing to notice about color pencils in general is that you can, I can go in here and I can darken it, I can layer these colors. I'm going to sharpen my pencil for a moment. And you'll find that you need to do that, by the way. If you have color pencils, they will need frequent sharpening. I find electric sharpeners work a little bit better with them. Okay, almost done there. Great. And there is our path, right? Okay, great. Now that we have our path in, let's talk about doing the grass. I'm thinking that I want to use a nice bright green, and this is just called dark phthalo green. And I'm going to use it to highlight the little grass patches, even here. Remember I told you I could just go over it in green? Yep. I'm not going to worry about that because that is easy to cover up. A little bit over here. And notice you don't have to even be perfect about coloring that in. A little bit up here at the base of the tree. And a little bit near the top here and there, just to add a little attention to the edge of the grass. Just like that, that, and that. Okay, now what I'm going to do, guess what? I'm just going to fill it in quickly with a light layer. Not going to be, you know, super perfect about it. Just going to work my way around the playground. Whoops, missed a little spot there. You could use a grass green. You could use, this is sort of like an emerald green. The phthalo green has a little bit of blue in it. And add a little more darkness over there. And I don't know why I got so dark there, but it doesn't matter. Just going to go over here quickly, block it in. Now, when you do areas like this, big areas, you can use your whole wrist. And I recommend turning the paper so that you can work on different areas of the picture without having to feel stuck like, oh, I can't get to that. Do yourself a favor, turn your paper around and it'll make it easier. And notice what I just did? I put some paper underneath so I can go right off the page without worrying about getting it all over my table. So I can use this scrap paper right here to help me achieve my goal of getting to the edge of the paper. Now, where are we? We're right back here at the top again. And I'm going to continue to quickly block in the grass. And then after I do the grass, maybe we'll take a break. In fact, let's do this. Let me stop here, because what I'm going to do is just fill in all that grass. I want you to fill in the grass on your picture, and then we'll come back and talk about doing the sky. So I'll see you shortly. Finish up your grass, and I'll see you for the trees, the sky, and the clouds. How did you do with your grass? Did you fill it in? Now we're ready to move on to the trees, the sky, and some details in the sky. So for the trees, I like to use a combination of browns just like I do when I'm working on the path here. But, and I may even move, you know, sometimes I have some gray in there. I like to put, you know, a light brown down to start maybe, I mean a dark brown actually in this case. And I'm putting it down very light, that's what I meant. And then I might go in with, you know, this buttery brown again that we were using, that kind of camel color, a little darker on top. And then I like to introduce a nice color like a red to kind of show the bark on the tree. So again, I'm just doing a light tone of dark brown. Go in with more of a golden tone, a little heavier, and then take in this kind of reddish brown here. And then, you know, I might even take a gray and just sort of, you know, put some lines to, again, suggest some kind of texture from the bark. Here, over there. Now for the tree, I didn't want it to be the same green as the grass, so I've decided to make it more of a yellow green. And I'm just going to lightly fill it in like this. Move my paper over again so when I go off the page, which I definitely want to do so I can get every edge, every corner in, just like that. Then I might go in and, you know, take a little bit of a bright green in here, mix it in a little bit, and then take some of that, I have a nice forest green here, and I could go in here and again just emphasize some of those little clusters in my tree, make it stand out a little bit more, make it kind of fun, maybe even add a little bit of dark green in there. And then I'll do the similar treatment over here. I will do some light green going right off the page, coming in here, yep, like that. Maybe a little yellow green, add some color, and then a dark green to emphasize the little clusters and maybe even near the edges a little, and then just in general, put in a dark green. Great. Now, traditionally, you could just do a fun light blue sky, but you know, this is sort of, you know, a Pokemon world, so I want to make it more fun, and I've decided to do kind of a purpley sky because I want to make it different, not so predictable. You know what I mean? I want to just kind of mix it up. So I'm going to do a very light pale sky. Look for these space shapes between the slide bars. And over here on the other side of the tree, don't forget about that. I'm going to go around my clouds for now because I want to introduce some colors there that actually, if you get up early enough in the morning and you see a sunrise happening, you can see some beautiful colors in your clouds that might inspire you to change your thinking about clouds always being white. I tend to think clouds actually don't, most of the time, aren't white. They're either gray or they have some blue tones in them. But if you get up in the morning and you catch a sunset or even a sunrise or a sunset, you might see some pinks and purples that are just gorgeous. So I decided to play off that idea by putting a purpley sky Just so pretty. And fill that in. And then for my clouds, I think I'm gonna use some blue. Oh, not this one. I wanna use this blue. This is a really pretty blue. It's sort of like I like to call it cornflower blue. I'm not gonna fill the whole cloud in, but part of it. And then what I like to do is bring in a little bit of pink and purple. And I like to finish it off that way. So I'm gonna bring some pink in here. Gives it a little more warmth because pink is a warm color. And then maybe a little bit of purple here and there, a little darker. I wouldn't fill in the whole thing. And then for a little contrast, how about a really bold golden sun? Isn't that pretty? And there you go. You now have a finished, playful Pokemon playground drawing. And I hope you brought your own ideas to the picture. If you wanted to change the colors or maybe you wanted to add a different Pokemon character, that's always okay, and I encourage it. But I'm so glad you joined me today. And in the meantime, if you need to finish your work off camera, that's great. Keep working on it. I hope I can work with you again in the future. This is Doris Benter of Library Arts. Stay well and stay creative.